Let me just point out some important tips about boxing and training before we go on to the grappling. When you're practicing that footwork, when we talked about setting the foot, moving the hand, we want to move the hand immediately after that foot makes contact with the floor. As soon as my foot touches the floor, the hand accelerates. We don't want to move, cut an angle, let our fighter adjust, and then throw. We want to cut an angle and fire right away. So anytime we set that foot and move to cut an angle, we want to fire immediately as our foot hits the floor. That's the way you want to shadow box, that's the way you want to hit a bag, and that's the way you want to box in a ring. The next important concept that we should all be working on all the time in the gym is high, low, high concepts when we punch. You see a lot of people throwing alternating punches, left, right, left, all day long in these gyms. If I have a person in front of me that wants to protect himself against punches, and I throw alternating left, right, left punches, as soon as he blocks the first punch, it's highly probable he's going to block the next 2 or 3 or 4 or 17. So if I go left, right, left, his hands are there in front of his eyes. He might catch them all. That was actually beautiful. So what I want to do is, I want to throw high, low, high. This creates confusion. Now the fighter has to adjust to all my level changes, and he doesn't know what they are. So real slow, Paul. I'm going to go jab, cross, hook. So if I go high, low, high, it creates a tremendous amount of confusion, and it's a lot more probable that I'm going to land one of those punches with a lot of leverage while he tries to follow me with level changes up and down. That's why it's so important that we use the body like a coil, because it's going to be fast. Another important concept is, again, I told you before, when I have a very busy lead hand. A busy left hand occupies the right cross. That's one of the punches I'm really afraid to get knocked out with. If I'm constantly throwing a busy left hand, jabs, hooks, the fighter's right hand is occupied, my hands are in his eyes, and he can't throw that cross. And then I gain my confidence and I come in. So when you're practicing shadow boxing, when you're practicing on the bag, let's educate that lead left hand so we can take control of this fighter before he throws the heavy shots. The next important concept that we want to practice, whether we're shadow boxing, hitting the bag, or sparring or doing drill work, is making sure we take our defense in and we take our defense out. If I unload a combination on Paul and I go inside and then I step back out, Paul's going to follow me back, he's going to knock my head off my shoulders. So when I go inside, I want to take my defense with me in and take my defense out. And then I'm covered and ready to go. Now, coming out in a straight line is not the optimum way to defend yourself. That was just for a demonstration, although we'll be doing that all day long. You're much better off coming out at an angle. But each and every time you throw a combination, even if it's the same combination, you want to come out a different door than you've gone in every single time to keep your opponent confused. So if we go high, low, low, out. Again. Or on his heels. That's defense. When you push a fighter on his heels, he has no power to generate with his hands. I defended myself because he's trying to throw punches on his way back. That's just a general concept. Defense in, defense out. You'll see a lot of this in our drill work, and I think you're going to like it. The next concept that we want to follow in combatives, even though we're using Western boxing, is we want to bully our fighter. A good boxer will actually try to bully his fighter also, see how much he can get away with in the ring. When I'm in here and I'm fighting this guy, I want to trap his hands, I want to bump him or jab over the top. I want to push him, I want to punch him and spin him, and I want to abuse him going backwards all the time when we're punching. I want this guy on his heels, I want to try to regain his balance, I want him confused, I want him tired. We want to abuse our fighter while we're punching him, using a little bit of grappling within our boxing. Another important concept is focusing real hard on shortening up the speed of your combination. It's more important to have a fast combination than a fast punch. You see a lot of these long-range fighters that may or may not belong at long range for whatever reason. But to have a fast punch is nice, but throwing one punch at a time with somebody who already has some skills is going to be very difficult to hit somebody because I'm throwing them at long range And speed isn't enough against skilled fighters. What's real important is fast combinations. The distance between the 3 punches being short is more important than a fast punch. I'd rather see a fast combination, especially short. The short combinations. The time between the first punch and the last punch should be as short as possible when you're training. The next important tip that you need to follow is you want to start off with your lead hand and end up with your lead hand in most of your combinations until you're more advanced. If I throw combinations in odd numbers starting with the lead hand, 1, 2, 3, then every time I finish my combination, I ended up bladed, hands up, and back into my posture. It's a comfort zone. If I throw combinations in odd numbers ending with my right hand, I end up like this. Tell me what you see. You see a fighter committed forward with a right cross, stuck there, trying to come back, and it takes too much time. If I come back with the left hand in his eyes, then he's had to block that last punch, and while he's blocking it, I'm back into a zone of safety, which is my posture that I believe in so much. So I don't care if you throw 3-punch combinations, 11-punch combinations. In the beginning of your training, try to throw in odd numbers until you're more advanced. Now let's talk about inside punching a little bit. This is interesting. I would advise all my fighters, when they fight inside, to fight as closely as comfortable, as close as possible while it's still comfortable and they can generate maximum power. Physiologically, we're all different. I've seen some fighters that can fight you right here 4 inches away. And some fighters can't fight inside unless they have 15 inches. We are who we are. But when you practice, try to find out how close you can get and still generate power. And there's 2 reasons for that. Number 1, if I'm real close, he has very little reaction time or none at all because I'm too close. So if we're in close and I'm throwing these short punches, that's a comfort zone for me. He has a big problem. And now Paul wants to find room. He might need 15 inches before he can punch inside with me. So what Paul's left to do is push me and spin out and try to get back to the outside again. And I can win that inside game if I train to punch close and he can't. So when you train inside punches, you want to punch as close as possible. So the other fighter can't deal with it and he's constantly trying to find room while you're punching and he's not.